here.
I just wonder why. Oh, why?
And then here. Go live. So one day.
I see charity deplored, equal rights.
Okay, so that will go for YouTube.
Wisdom and ingenuity.
All right, okay.
Working in
Now I've seen it up here, right?
To afford
I'll go see what going on up here.
such inventions as to nuclear warfare.
So I will click play.
Warfare. And I wonder now,
okay,
where do we go?
Alright.
From here?
Alright.
Prophets everywhere. Gaze upon the horizon and declare that judgment will come. As the savage hands of unscrupulous men pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can. Prophets everywhere. Gaze upon the horizon and declare that judgment will come. As the savage hands of unscrupulous men pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can. Prophets everywhere.
Alright, okay.
As the savage hands of unscrupulous men
so that's the
pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can. Prophets everywhere.
Alright, okay.
As the savage hands of unscrupulous men
so that's the
pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can. Prophets everywhere.
Alright, okay.
As the savage hands of unscrupulous men
so that's the
pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can. Prophets everywhere.
Alright, okay.
As the savage hands of unscrupulous men
so that's the
pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can. Prophets everywhere.
Alright, okay.
As the savage hands of unscrupulous men
so that's the
pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can. Prophets everywhere.
Alright, okay.
As the savage hands of unscrupulous men
so that's the
pile everything pass by. Time is running out warfare as we eat and drink species at the brink of Phoenix. Where do we go? And I to run where no one can.
Unmute it. That's it?
Yeah.
Alright, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Alright. I heard a lag in the background as well. When the music was playing, would that happen normally?
What do you mean a lag?
I hearing like when the music playing, I heard one verse went before and then the next one following. Is that normal, or do I need a headphone to treat with that? I heard a lag in the background as well.
You mean like a background? Like a
No, it look as though that happen like normally?
One moving faster than the other, unless it's my imagination.
I hear
Let me-
like when the
between
music
YouTube and
playing.
Facebook?
I
Yeah.
heard one
It
verse
doesn't happen
went
on the
before
going
and then the next one following.
simultaneous.
Is that normal, or
Yeah.
do I need a headphone to
It's
treat with
different
that?
latency, you know, it's latency.
I heard
Right,
a lag in the background as well.
the delays.
Delaying.
No,
so I will get that.
One moving faster.
I will get that
than the other, unless it's my imagination.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So how you solving that?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen on the going side
No, that's
simultaneous.
YouTube and Facebook.
Let me-
Right.
Okay, right. So, but I hear it here and it's disturbing. How do I address that?
So I will get that. One moving faster.
Yeah, I was saying it earlier. When I was playing this song, let me play over the song. Let me start the song again. All right. All right. So I have to mute. Oh, I have to mute in YouTube.
Right. So, but I hear it here and it's
No, I
disturbing.
see.
How do I address that?
And how you doing that song? That YouTube
I was
there.
saying it earlier.
When I was playing this song, let me play over
Go
the
ahead.
song. Let me start the song again. Let me talk. We everybody's seeing what's happening. So, people, of course, we are attempting to adjust. Right. Okay. Right. So I can play the song now, and I only get one song. Right. Okay. Let me see.
I see consciousness as dirty as today we live recklessly. Money
Yes.
make egos inflate
Right.
and thereby create
It's in 2 hours,
a
right?
turbulent state. I see a struggle between the sexes, new hang-ups and old complexes. Now the question is, right in context, what shall be next? I've already seen this would have come divided
Right.
between race,
So
color,
it's just on
creed,
the
and
yellow day.
class. And some of the things,
Right. And then of
the
course my
scripture
mic
predicts
testing 1 2
truthfully
1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1.
soil that wouldn't be children
Nobody's
making
on yet, so
children to be a part of
going
this
back to
growing mass.
people. Of course, the intention is to check,
if this
test.
is
We are
progress,
on both
how long will
YouTube
it
and
last?
Facebook, and I have the famous Cuff in the background giving me instructions, because you know when he's not around as before, I have to do what I have to do. So he's of course giving me instructions in the background. So, but welcome to Sunday. I thought I should start a bit early so that I could get an appreciation as to how the system works, because you know it's a steep learning curve, and I think we have been off for what the better part of 2 or 3 days. But I hear people calling profusely, and I thought it was important, of course, to at least start tonight, Sunday, so that when we go into Monday, tomorrow night, we will be able, of course, to I will be much more familiar, in other words, with the system, and so do justice to what we have been doing and what we have planned to do and what we have stated that we would do from time immemorial. Let me also say, of course, I thank all those persons who would have made contributions to getting the new systems up, and of course we are now tweaking the software, so this is part and parcel of the whole process. So, and of course I have to learn. I have to put up, of course, the various background material, some of which of course are videos and so on. All of that I have to learn, because the new system, a new software all together that we are using, and therefore I have to be able to get to learn and to, of course, do it in a short space of time, but also, of course, very efficiently, so that we don't have the lags and the other things that we had before. But that being as it may, here it is. Of course, we are on the corridor transformation, this Sunday edition. Of course, we are testing the system. Go on YouTube right now. I would suggest go on YouTube right now, and of course you will get your live there. Just key in, of course, the corridor transformation, and you should get there. We will have a link later down the road. I will announce it on the ground report as well, and anywhere we can get to announce it, including, of course, we will put up something, a notice on the various platforms indicating where you can find the corridor transformation, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Remember, of course, on Facebook, I think you are very familiar, but where YouTube is concerned, I think you are now, we are now getting ourselves familiar. Ourselves, meaning that both yourselves and of course Lennox Smith. Let me put it that way. And therefore, right here in studio, I have everybody, of course, up and watching and and observing and to see where we are going with this, because it is crucial, it is critical, and we need, of course, as I said, one of the major objectives of this exercise is to communicate with world leaders wherever they are. But of course, we have to broaden the spectrum, the platform, and so having done that, now we are putting together, of course, a list of these leaders, particularly in the what is called the G20 and the G7, that influences world politics, world developments, world advancement, and so it is crucial that we make certain that happens, particularly where Trinidad and Tobago is concerned. And I have a very important message to give as well. You might have seen it already on YouTube, and it will, of course, be stationed in national, local media circuits as well, or circle. And so, of course, I want to tell you as well that Cuff is on the line. So if you're hearing him, if you're hearing somebody in the background, it means that he is here assisting me to tackle this situation. That is to get me up and running, so that we can, in fact, treat with the moving from Facebook and engaging in both Facebook and YouTube. So you would appreciate my the challenges or some of the issues that go with it, and I thought it was important to do it live so that you can see for yourself how difficult it is for an uninitiated individual to engage in this. And you need, of course, experts such as Cuff that to make certain that you are up and running, and where there are challenges, where there are tweakings to be done, that of course a person like that is around to assist in more ways than one. So I am not familiar, as I said, I keep boasting, not that it's a boast, but certainly it is a reality. And so I am really appreciative of Cuff taking his Sunday time off to assist me and to assist the corridor transformation and to assist you in, of course, making certain that we are on YouTube. I'm seeing right now that we are on YouTube. I'm seeing a YouTube. I have to engage, of course, another screen that we will tweak after we would have done this test. But I thought I should do the test live and direct, so you appreciate the challenges that is associated with this kind of effort to bring the information. I frankly thought it was easy. I thought it was a simple exercise, but it's clearly not a simple exercise. It's one that is fraught with all kinds of technical and calculative and other factors that I will not be and have not been familiar with. And so, of course, I'm very appreciative of the efforts of Cuff to assist in this regard. And so welcome, of course, to the corridor transformation after a seemingly long but really and truly just about 2 days break. And as I said, we are now in the process of tweaking and to making certain that the transition to both YouTube and remaining on Facebook is, of course, one that is not difficult for you in particular, those of you who are very, very, very committed to the corridor transformation and to seeing things. I have not put up the numbers, for example, as yet. I don't want anybody to call in, and let me say one time, even though you have the number, please don't call as yet. We are testing, and I have a fair idea as to what you would say, that of course we are missed, etc., etc. But I have a lot of information for you. I just want to make sure, so we started early. Tonight, we started at around just minutes to 7 to make certain that if things go right, we can go straight, of course, to to our normal scheduling from 8 to 10. But let's see how things develop. We are testing. Don't forget, I said we are testing. And we just want to make sure. Remember, go on YouTube right now and see whether or not we are there. And how you like what is happening, because we are no longer on this mono frequency, meaning that only on YouTube, but we are on, not only on Facebook, but we are on YouTube as well. Right now, you go there, and of course you will see us there, because remember we had some technical problems, most of which was nestled in ignorance. I wasn't aware as to the complications and all of the challenges associated with getting
testing
on
1 2 1 2.
So here we are.
Is this test working?
Looking. testing, yes, and we are working. We are getting our act together, so to speak. So we have some music playing in the background as well, in order to, of course, treat. But I have some good news for you, as I said. I think I better tell you one time, man. So those of you who are on now, you will hear it. You will see it, of course, and say that for the first time, or you have been at the forefront, or you are the one that first would have heard it from me, at least. Yes, I did in fact deliver on what I promised some time ago. I said that we have to find a way to get Dr. Rowley to account for his licentious and salacious past. And here it is, and I understand I have to be careful as to the words I'm talking, because remember we are simulcasting between Facebook and YouTube is a bit more stringent in terms of the choice of words that you use. But of course we use words here that will not be too offensive, and we try our best to use words that would be substitute for maybe more difficult or challenging or obnoxious words, if you want to call it that. But on this program, we have to be very careful, otherwise we may well be cut off from, or banned or suspended from YouTube as well. So that much I have learned, and I thought I should convey as well. So if you hear me or you observe that I am simmering down in some of the tone and the language used, is largely because I don't want to deprive you from accessing YouTube. Of course, we have been very cautious and within, of course, the parameters of tolerance as far as Facebook is concerned, but certainly going into this new venture where you are simultaneously, which the same words will be, of course, used on Facebook, will be also used on YouTube, and therefore in such circumstance we have to be careful. That is what I think is very important now. And as I said, I'm going straight up to 8 o'clock. And if, of course, things work out, I will probably formally start the 8 o'clock program then. But certainly, we will be on for 8 tomorrow. No ifs or buts. And, of course, as I said, right now, I have Cuff, with whom you are very familiar on the ground report. So he is, of course, assisting me in getting things started and getting the technical side of things up and running so that we can achieve the objective of trying to get to those world leaders to emphasize what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, the poor governance, the mismanagement, the stealing of our resources, the manipulation, the cronyism, and the blatant and unadulterated illegal conduct of the government in brutalizing the rule of law, the separation of powers, and of course the very important component and significant to our own survivability as a nation, the breach of fundamental principles of our democracy. I cannot overemphasize how democracy is consistent and is so important and an imperative to the existence and the continuation as a nation of Trinidad and Tobago. Anywhere in the world you go and there's a breach of fundamental democratic principles, you always have tyranny, and you also have persons who would arrogate unto themselves the right to manage the affairs of the country, but within their own warped and usually corrupt principles, and believe somehow that they can escape, and they are not accountable for their actions to the people, because democracy itself is government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And therefore, it is crucial that all of us, as I've often said, be eternally vigilant. And it was Ronald Reagan who said, a former president of the United States, that every single generation, and it behoves on ours, but every single generation has a duty and responsibility not only to monitor, but to make certain that our democracy strives and moves on to the unperturbed and uninterrupted and unpolluted to the next generation. Cuff, you have something to say? You say something to me? Cuff?
No.
Oh, good.
Wait.
Yeah. You say something to me? Wait or go ahead?
No, you go ahead.
Yes, indeed. So, people, yes, we are here. You're hearing them in the background. I have the phone at my ear. So, we like to tell you as it is and show you as it is on this program. We do, disguise anything. We are not engaged in incognito activities. And if we say something, of course, we mean that. Let me tell you what is happening. What has happened only Thursday. I think I owe it to you. Haven't waited so long. Well, Dr. Rowley was served, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, was served with a pre-action protocol letter from me. I will read excerpts of it tomorrow on the ground report. And if I get the opportunity tonight, I'm certainly going to read so that you on the corridor transformation get the first taste of the actual letter itself. I'm going to probably try to put it up as well. But the pre-action protocol letter was served on Dr. Rowley at Whitehall around 4:15 on Thursday evening. So Thursday evening, Dr. Rowley was served with a pre-action protocol letter. And of course, you obviously the question is, well, why? And why have I served it? Well, remember Dr. Rowley, from all of his conduct, the Batiste matter that used the letterhead of the Prime Minister's Communications Department letterhead to, of course, write to the radio station 104.7 to Mr. and Mrs. Amar, the owners of the station, asking for a copy of a program that Andy and I conducted, but of course I was the one that took the lead as far as calling Dr. Rowley a rapist and a pedophile, and of course explaining the entire episode and the circumstances that brought that conclusion. And of course, a fellow called Batiste, Lieutenant Batiste, he decided that he's working in the office of the Prime Minister and wrote an email. Yeah. You want me to stop for pause? Yes. Yes, indeed. He wanted a copy of that letter from the radio station by 5 o'clock the evening. 5 o'clock the evening, saying that I lied. I'm not talking the truth about Dr. Rowley and his sexual exploits of a school child, and he being a teacher. All of that, of course, was part and parcel of it. And then, of course, I think what was more despicable and most horrendous and an abuse of authority, that by itself, that action was in fact that. But then, of course, you had the situation where, let me just, I think there's the music has been suspended a bit. Let me just make certain. Progress is right. Oh, I think he has taken off the music for obvious reasons. I am not going to interfere or bring it back on because Cuff has taken it off. But let me just explain to you the pre-action protocol letter. And subsequent to that, sometime later, the lawyers of Dr. Rowley wrote to TAT, the Trinidad and Tobago Communications Authority, the authority that gives license to broadcast for every single radio station, every single TV station, every single other forms of media that is under the control and the giving of national wave bands to conduct a broadcasting entity in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, that board would have been the creature or the creation or the presentation of Dr. Rowley, consequential of the PNM winning questionable elections, but nonetheless they are the government, the PNM, and therefore they would have appointed new boards, and those that were appointed by Kamala Prasad Bisesa by 2015 would have had, of course, to demit office, and this new board took over. In fact, you wouldn't believe that one of the chairman, in fact, of the board is Dr. Rowley's personal lawyer. We will deal with all of the details in a subsequent broadcast on this particular matter because it's a developing story. I think it should be all over the internet now and all over the news probably by tomorrow because it only happened on the Thursday and therefore we had Friday and then the weekend. But none of the critics, none of the challengers could now say that Lennox Smith is a grand charger and that I am Dr. Rowley. I'm of the same category like Dr. Rowley and they, because we had asked Dr. Rowley to explain that circumstance back in 1969 when, of course, by age 17, Miss Allen gave birth to his first child, a boy, Garth Allen. And of course, he was about 22 at the time, he Rowley, but and the teacher, and therefore of mature age. But Miss Allen was 17 years when she made Garth Allen, meaning that she was a minor as far as our law is concerned. But worse yet, in that letter to TAT, Dr. Rowley's lawyer tried to do a phantasmagorical, semantic, illusionary, and delusionary trick by saying that she, Miss Allen, not only was out of school, even though 17 years would have been of school age, even though she might have been out of school, that is irrelevant, but they try to make that the relevant point. You see, they feel they're dealing with stupid people. But worse yet, as I did in my pre-action protocol letter, in reference to the comments and the efforts of Dr. Rowley, clearly on his instructions, intending to close down, to take away the license, the broadcasting license of 104.7, where for over 5 years I've been asking Dr. Rowley to account for that a very despicable, given all of the circumstance and given human beings disapprobation, disgust with conduct such as that. Across the globe, no society self-respecting would countenance or tolerate any human being taking advantage of their female in that way. It was absolute and total rape. And so, having of course challenged Dr. Rowley in that way, and having of course his, what I consider to be his satellites evildoers, satellite evildoers, those who would countenance and support that kind of behavior. And when one looks at what has happened to Weinstein, a former Hollywood magnate, a very influential individual there. Let me just get back to Cuff. Yes, Cuff. Let me just take you on the phone instead. Cuff, are you hearing me there?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Are you still live?
Yeah. I'm still there. I'm still live.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good night, everyone.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Cuff is on the line, people, and he is, of course, saying good night. I want to thank him profusely. I cannot, my appreciation cannot be limited at all. I think he's a tower of power. He's a tower of strength, and a fellow who, of course, would give, even though in the background, but will give, of course, his time, energy, and expertise for the correcting of the wrongs in this society in his own way. And of course, we who are at the forefront must, of course, respect and appreciate that. So, Cuff, thank you very much for your constant vigilance and in fact your insistence when I was, of course, very reluctant because I'm not familiar with the technology. You told me just go into the deep blue sea and start to swim. It will be automatic. Well, I am doing so at this point in time. So thank you, my friend.
Yes, no problem.
Yes,
God is in all of us.
Yes, yes, indeed. It's all of us. Yes, it's all of us. Yes, doing our respective specialities, so to speak. So, Cuff, yes, so you're hearing him live. Cuff, I know you normally would hear him on the ground report. Well, you're hearing him on the corridor transformation as well. Sometimes he is put in the role of a presenter, of a talk show host, and he always, of course, adjusts, and does the job. Don't forget, people, of course, we are on YouTube right now. As promised, and we are on Facebook as well, so that we have broadened, of course, the reach, and well on our way to reaching the players in the world as we gather, of course, the various information relating to the addresses, whether it's email or otherwise, or through the embassies in Trinidad and elsewhere in the country, because there are some countries that may not have an embassy in Trinidad, but of course they have one somewhere in the Caribbean represent, and Trinidad and Tobago is part of the should I say the group of countries that emissary would represent. But let me get back, of course, to this situation of the pre-action protocol letter. As I said, the efforts of Dr. Rowley through his lawyers to stymie and to stop any kind of broadcasting of the fact that he engaged in that activity, in that sexual, unapproved, reckless and brutal conduct back in 1969, and of course Miss Allen made the child on the following year. His lawyers were trying to tell me through that letter, not only me but that as a case to close down, to take away the license, the broadcasting license of 104.7. They were saying a most phantasmagorical and most inexplicable, that they would say that Miss Allen was out of school. They didn't say she wasn't of school age, but she was out of school at the time, and she made the child just a year, I think, after she left school. Well, they're so stupid, and your common sense will also tell you. If I can get a rag or something, I will appreciate. I know that they are monitoring in studio here as well, but it's making pretty hot. It's getting pretty hot, so I trust that somebody will get me a rag. So I am asking, I hope it is within hearing distance, within, of course, the studio itself. Could someone get me a rag? Yes, so I'm saying here that here it is, the big lawyers are saying that she was out of school, not that she was or was not of school age, you know. In other words, it would have been clear. They didn't have to say that if she was 18 years, if she was 19 years, if she was 20 years. But because she was 17 years when she made the child, they said that she was out of school. Of course, leaving themselves exposed to the fact that she was of school age. But more than that, as I pointed out in my pre-action letter to Dr. Rowley, essentially calling me a liar. And what I've been saying over the last 5-8 years now is that he has committed a cardinal criminal act and attempts at every angle to shift the goalposts and to try to obfuscate and to render it irrelevant and insignificant, especially to the post that he holds as Prime Minister, a person who in him represents the moral and ethical and right and wrong of a society on his shoulders, and that people, all, especially young people aspiring to be leaders in this country, your Prime Minister must be inspirational. He must be exemplary. He must be a leader of almost impeccable character. I'm not saying that leaders are impeccable, but almost. And their public utterances and their appearances and their conduct must be at least a behavior that they can control. Must be one that must not and cannot be questioned. Dr. Rowley is the opposite of all of that. Clearly, he's obnoxious in public. He is brutal and vitriolic in terms of his political or otherwise opponents and those who he believes that has threatened him. And as I've always said, that this man suffers from an inferiority complex. Once again, people, let me say that we are on YouTube and on Facebook right now, and I am, of course, expressing and letting you know I don't want any calls at this point in time, but of course, if you are so minded because you have it in your memory, because we have not put up the numbers as yet, you can call because this is a test. But of course, I don't mind. I see Cuff tested already by calling. So if you wish to call, I have no difficulty. I will not refuse and or ignore, but I will have no choice but to answer. But we are testing and we are on YouTube as we speak. But of course, and with good news for most of you, I know there are those who would say that Lennox Smith. No, they would say that Lennox Smith is not a joker, and that he has been saying that for years and have not taken action, and therefore somehow give Rowley a blight. But no, I keep saying that it's just a matter of time. When Thursday gone at around 4:15, that manifestation of an action against Dr. Rowley has commenced. He has 7 days to respond. And if he does not, I have the documents prepared and we go to court. I am suing him for defamation, for calling me a liar, directly and indirectly. When he was on the platform, for example, he was saying that the operatives of the ground report were saying that he raped this and he raped that. And that, of course, he had several other episodes of denial, and all of which I have found and put together in a nice, what I consider to be video and written dossier, ready for court, including information about the birth paper, the date of birth of Miss Allen, and the date of birth of the son that he has claimed and his lawyers have not refuted in their efforts to try to intimidate, and he Rowley trying, of course, to emasculate freedom of speech in Trinidad and Tobago about his sexual exploits, predatorial exploits, and that we must not, of course, account because he is Prime Minister and of course, occupies the office of Prime Minister, failing to recognize that he could only be there because the people would have put him there. But they somehow believe, the entire cabinet believe, that they can arrogate unto themselves the illusion that they are there because of on their own volition. No. It is as a consequence of the people voting in a democratic principle that is government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And that therefore nothing could expunge, erase, or in any way degrade or reduce that fundamental principle to our democracy and our country's operations one to another, and the interaction of the various institutions, whether it be, of course, governmental institutions, private institutions, commercial institutions, economic activity institutions, or indeed the interaction of families and or individuals in their normal, of course, course of interaction that is normal for a society to make sure that it has a smooth, all-round and multifaceted development. But let me get back, of course, to that pre-action protocol letter that was sent to Dr. Rowley on Thursday, and what gave rise to it. The straw that broke the camel's back is when I got wind of that particular document, a 17-page document sent to TAT by Dr. Rowley's lawyers, and I say Dr. Rowley's lawyer confidently and without fear of contradiction, because at the bottom of it, not only at the top did they say that they represent Dr. Rowley, but at the bottom of it they also copied him, so he is aware that they sent that letter to TAT trying to close down the 104.7 public broadcasting entity owned by the Amaros. But more significantly, they quoted me extensively and refuting, and as I said, they went and make the most illogical, irrational explanation as to the age and the chronology related to how Dr. Rowley got his first son, Garth Allen. And of course, as I mentioned, not only did they say that she was out of school, not that she was a school child out of school. Notice that they said that she was out of school and make the child just a year after she was out of school, so she might have left school early for whatever reason. The fact is that she was in fact a school child. And just in case, because it happened on 17, well, I want them to know in my letter, of course, I made mention of it to let them know that there are people smarter than them, not as stupid as them, and will not make the incongruent statement that they would have made to make themselves asses, because they would have said that, and I in retort say, well, you tell me at what age. Simple arithmetic will tell you at what age. 9 months before she would have been. And of course, I had to say, even though I know the exact answer, because I know when she was born, I know her date of birth, I know when the child was born. She said it as well, as you know, in video that we have. Of course, we will play as time goes along. But the fact of the matter is that 9 months before, she would have been in her early 17s. Yeah, early 17s, months after 17, in other words, or weeks after 17, or she would have been at minimum in her late 16. In other words, she would have been 16 years of age 9 months before she made the child on in June of 1970. 9 months before that, she having born in September. So when she said in the video that she was a shy from 18, no. If you look at June, July, August, September, it would have been 4 months. So that's not a shy. A shy for me will mean that she was a days before her 18th birthday. But even if she was days before, the fact is that she was not 18. And 9 months before that, she clearly would have been 16 years of age. And more than that, Dr. Rowley must tell us, because I will be posing that question to him, when he first had sex with her. Because as I've surmised, he ain't no doc, neither she. So when he jump on a child born, why is that is possible in human circumstance? But I want to say that he must tell us whether she was 15, whether she was 14, whether she was 13, whether she was 12, when he started to have sex with this school child or child of school age. Whichever. School child doesn't mean that you are in school, but you are a school child as far as your age is concerned, and you were not 18 years of age, you were 17 years of age, and therefore you were a school child. Of course, the lawyer's letter went on to say that he didn't teach in the two schools, primary and secondary school, that Miss Allen was attended, and somehow tried to make a connection, a nexus, that because she didn't attend the school somehow, or he did not teach at those schools somehow, that he can be exonerated from culpability. But we have, and I have been always careful to say, I've never pointed out the schools, so I want to thank them for the schools that she attended. I don't think they put in their letter to that what school he was teaching at the time. But they did mention that he was a teacher. You see how bright they believe they are. But they have given me more information that that could easily be verified by their own writings, putting pen to paper. So I have very little to, of course, prefer to the courts when the time comes. Dr. Rowley alone must account and say, how come I am lying on him? And he has to tell us. And of course, one of the questions is, when you started to have sex, you're rapscallion, evil, wicked, diabolical, and clearly one that can only be classified as the scum of the earth, as a beast in human form, to have committed that kind of act and seek an honorable office called the Prime Minister's office in Trinidad and Tobago. And when dishonorable people seek honorable office, the only thing that could happen, consequently, is dishonorableness, nastiness, evil, wickedness, and total chaos, incompetence, and impotence, as we have seen with the Dr. Rowley's action and at the head of a PNM administration, deploying a group of individuals who clearly are conspirators and who will throw a blind eye to the fact that if their children, their grandchildren, would come home to them and tell them that the teacher interfered with them, they will throw a blind eye and say nothing. That is the conclusion one has to draw. And I'm going further, that the women's arm came out and defending Rowley for that dastard act. What kind of beasts are these women in the women's arm of the PNM? And even worse, the youth arm remains silent on the matter. But even worse, the religious groups in the country remain silent on the matter by and large. Even though they may be talking privately, they need to come out in public. And then, of course, you have those NGOs, those civil society entities that talk about, of course, the vulnerable and the susceptible, and that they are doing human service, and they are, of course, engaged in humanitarian work, whether it be women's organizations, whether it be children's organizations. Yes, indeed. We are in a shambolic situation. And those who find themselves supporting conduct like that must also be relegated to the dustbin of decadence, inhumane conduct, and should be totally disregarded. Once again, of course, we are testing people, and of course, I thought I should start early for just about an hour to see and to, of course, engage. Nobody has brought me a handkerchief or a rag. I'm asking again in studio, somebody bring me something to wipe my face, please. It's hot in here. One of the fans, of course, counted out only today, so that would normally keep me cool, but it's not the case at this point in time, and the air condition seems to have slowed down. But in spite of all of that, I am here sweating and making certain that I get that you get the information that is required in order to understand that we are on our way. Put a little more on this, please. Or give it to me. Give it to me. Yes. Somebody is handing me, apparently there is nothing of the sort. I think last night I did attend a beautiful wedding, and I think I carried the rag that I will keep in the office for circumstances like this. I think I would have left it in the car on my return. Give me the whole thing. Give me the whole thing. Yes. So they have brought me some absorbent, very gentle paper so that I can use. So I will certainly use it now. Yes, indeed. And make sure that no stuff remains. Yes, I see stuff remaining here, boy. Yes, but that's all right. We are testing, and there's a human situation. So yes. So whenever there's any, right, okay. So yes, as I was saying, last night we had, of course, I had a very splendid eye opener. Some may call it, of course, a kind of culture shock, but a very good one. Let me just make sure this is not what I think it is. Yes. All right. Culture shock. Having attended, of course, a Muslim wedding, two Indian couple came together, they married and so on, and the exercise itself and the ceremonial and what I consider to be the dogma and the rituals that is associated with it by itself was unfamiliar to me. But I was pleasantly, of course, appreciative and surprised that after the ceremonial part, the non-ceremonial part, the unofficial part, I mean, it was simply tremendous. I saw a mixture there that would be associated with a carnival exercise. I say carnival from the point of view of the mixing of the various ethnic groups, the two main ethnic groups in the country. And I saw that not only reflected in the physical presence of a relatively large contingent of Africans and slightly larger, but nonetheless, one didn't expect that size of Africans to be at such a wedding. In Cuba, people. And then, of course, they engage in live music, of course, of artists that would have sung and are on the national and regional stage. As far as chutney is concerned, one would have expected that there. But then I was even more amazed that there was, of course, live as well, but singing, of course, some of the classics, old and current, by a live artist, yeah, but singing soca and calypso. I was simply moved to comment and to contemplate, oh, how dangerous Rowley and they are. And I was subjected to an excruciating piece of reading and audio that totally attempt to generate the division so that that small group of wicked, evil, diabolical, misogynic, racist, commentary elements and people. I mean, I was amazed because only today, as I said, a question was asked by a previous encounter, but nonetheless, I got wind of it today, where Saddam Hussein was asking the question, why it is that the government has stopped the pronouncement or the publicizing of the results of the C exam. And just as the logic, which of course is nestled in illogic, incongruency, and people who are totally duplicitous and doing things because they have a sinister motive, just as that, Rowley said that the essence of this C exam is to get people in a school. And when Saddam Hussein went on, a secondary school that is, and when Saddam Hussein went on to say, well, are you not going to credit, are you not going to give recognition to those who would have done well? Rowley said that was irrelevant. And that person would have gotten accolades and recognition in several ways. They would have gotten, for example, passing for their first school, and that is enough. I say to Rowley, you are not only a divider, you are not only deceptive, you are not only disrespectful of the efforts of parents and of those young people who would have worked harder than the rest and got their first, not only choice, but on the national scale would have been up to at least the first 100 or the first 3, for example. You would have done an injustice to them. And you never meant that if there were Africans that were in the first 3, the first 10, the first 50, the first 100 in the main, he would not have done that. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you the justification for that as well, because I don't talk just like that. Remember, it was Rowley who told us that those Indians are falsifying their degrees at university, totally ignoring as to how they got there. But suggesting at the same time, if they paying for the degrees, it means therefore they pay to get into the university too. That's his logical conclusion. But it's always on government scholarships in most cases. That is why they reduce the scholarships, the national scholarships, the open scholarships, from 400 to 100. From 400 to 100 people. Because there's a certain ethnic group that dominates, of course, those scholarships. And Rowley and they wanting to manifest an illusion, a despicable attempt to justify a political position that has no place in reality, when they told us that Indians falsifying their certificates, when the truth of the matter is that if it is the Indians dominated the C exam, it is expected that they will dominate the CXC exam as well when they would have completed their secondary education. And it's obvious as well that they will dominate the entrance to, apart from scholarships, but the entrance to universities is logical. And how could you come up disconcertedly, without any rational or reasoning, to come up with the nincompoopish, self-serving, political, delusionary utterance that Indians will or have been faking their degrees when they are the ones that are expected to pass the exam and move on to the various professions that a degree will provide, is obvious. That is how wicked Rowley is. And the PNM. To do what? To stay in office. They are a minority government. They are waning. They are in their last days. They are certainly a lame duck administration right now. But of course, doesn't or put another way, they refuse to lie down. They refuse to give up the gauntlet and understand that they have failed the African community, they have failed the country, and that therefore they should go out, not just into the twilight or into the woodwork, but go out in disgrace, because they have failed over and over and over, and to, of course, manifest something that doesn't exist by arrogating unto themselves success that doesn't exist. It tells a fundamental story, and that is why our democracy is under threat, and that is why Dr. Rowley and they are in a cesspool of decadence, and that they are the existential threat to Trinidad and Tobago's democracy, and we must safeguard ourselves against that. And the first thing is to get rid of them. We just saw, of course, a budget of over $59 billion with a deficit of about over 5 billion. Where are they getting the money from? And beating their chest that the economy has turned around, without telling us what are the elements that has created that. And then, of course, with the plethora of persons, and increasingly so, that are no longer looking for jobs, they exploit and promote a statistical anomaly. Yeah, a statistical anomaly, when, of course, people who are looking and are responsible for raw data as far as unemployment is concerned, they don't take into account people who stop looking for work. And clearly, if you're talking about a 3% unemployment in Trinidad and Tobago, it is clear that quite a large number of persons are not no longer have no confidence in looking for work, and Rowley and they to exploit that and to make it look as though somehow they have created sufficient employment for people, of course, to conclude, the statisticians, that there is 3% unemployment in Trinidad and Tobago. I think it is despicable, and you have to agree that is deception, official deception, however, of an unacceptable level. I thank them in studio for at least bringing a fan, so I'm feeling a little more cool now, and the air condition, of course, is bringing up the rear. Let me say, of course, that this is a test. This is a test program. We are looking at YouTube right now. You can view YouTube to see us there, and of course, I am getting the assistance of Cuff at this stage, where of course we are testing together using his expertise. And as you know, Cuff is a tower of power. He is the man who assists us from time immemorial in order for us to be where we are in our remote positions. Andy, Mikey, and myself on the ground report. Well, of course, the corridor transformation is a beneficiary of that service as well. Cuff, are you still there?
Start typing any word or phrase.
Cuff, are you still there? All right, so he has left me to my own device. So thank you very much, of course, for the assistance rendered. I would not have been anywhere at all. Somebody is on the line. I think they have the number. Welcome to the test. Welcome to the test. President, good night.
Yes,
welcome. Hey.
Let's have good night to you, Lennox, and everybody in the live, both on Facebook and on YouTube.
Thank you. Finally. Yes.
Right. I just want to add something what I heard the finance minister that said
yes
in the budget. And I want people to make sense of what this man was saying. He talked about the criminals and them using technology to make 3D guns, the 3D printer, make them guns and them.
Gun
so
parts,
I want to find out where the police and them make such raid to bring that into reality we living in, because we never see no raid where police find 3D printed gun for the population to see what by these people and them making gun in Puna or Awuka or somewhere down in San Fernando. He just talk and he have not a shred of evidence to prove that these criminals and them using some technology here to make 3D guns. I trying to figure out where they get that information from, because I'm waiting to see it on the news. He alone talk in any budget, but nowhere in the news means such finding where the police is concerned. So right now they're selling people a lot of dreams. Wasan not do it they did it tonight. They're telling people if you're getting water or not, you still have to pay a bill. So I is a fool and I go pay for something and I know I ain't getting it. But these people really have to get out of our faces and out of our lives, you know.
Yes.
Locked on and listening, you know.
Yes, my friend. But my understanding of where the 3D capitalization of that came from was a raid that they made somewhere where, of course, they got parts and I think a machine of a gun. I think it was shown on, if memory serves me right, it was on one of the video platforms. So you may want to check that. Go Google and key in 3D guns found in Trinidad and get an appreciation and an update. I don't have all of the facility at my disposal now, but as we move on, I'm certainly going to have it, and I could look up for it one time. But we have to get another screen activated, which we will do after this live. So I only have the benefit of one screen. Normally I'll have two screens, and then of course we will be adding a third one. We have another one that we'll be adding so that so I will be able to be across the board and multitask, so to speak, so that the information can come instantaneously. So I just want you to do your own research, and if it is, of course, something to the contrary to what I've said, then of course call back. I have no difficulty, but I'm only limiting to those persons who have the number. If you don't have the number, well, you don't have a chance, because this is about a live. Oh, I seen the number above me here. Yes, but so you have the number. I seen it above me. I didn't realize that. Yes, but that's all right. You can call. I think at this stage, callers can call and give their views. I'm glad that what the caller started with is that he is seeing us on YouTube at this point in time. I've not set up anything by way of video and so on to play. So let me just take the call again. A pleasant good night. Welcome to this live, but of course test on YouTube and
it's me again.
Facebook.
It's me again, Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
But I feel for some strange reason we are watching your live stream on YouTube there, like it have a delay somehow. But I just calling to add or to correct the statement where here just make concerning the gun.
Yeah.
Now, finding the 3D gun in Trinidad and Tobago is one thing, but manufacturing it here is another. I want to know where they're making the guns here. Because that's what he said.
Oh, okay. You want a little more
I want
details.
to find out.
Yeah. No, well.
Yeah, that's why I want to find out.
You're right, yeah, because they're talking about gun parts. They were talking parts. They found 1 or 2 parts, but in terms of making a gun, I think it was an exaggeration. But typical of this government to justify some kind of sensationalism, and to, of course, put themselves in a position as if they are not responsible for such development and the prevention thereof. So you're quite right, and I'm glad that you have narrowed it down and you are more specific. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I then pleasant.
Yes, same to you. Of course, people you can call now. The number to call, of course, 337-6940. Just make your comment as well on what is happening on YouTube. And indeed, of course, you can call Anne-Marie at 336-6594. I'm sure that you might have some comments that you want to make that you may not want to make in my presence, or on the live, but certainly you can do so privately. I want to say as well, we want to develop a system where, of course, we may want to play, for example, some voicemail as well for persons who may be timid, or they may not. They would want some practice in order to say something. Well, then, of course, you can get all the practice you want when you, of course, use a voicemail, and you can practice when you believe it is perfect. Then you send it to us, and we will certainly play it here on the Corridor Transformation. So a number of things are happening. It's just a matter of time. I know that people have been, of course, wary. So give me an update now as to what is happening on YouTube. If you are a YouTuber, if you prefer that, now you have the choice. And of course, tell me what is happening on Facebook as well. Because of course, this is what this is all about. To invest time, energy, money, our personal monies, and of course, those of the diaspora who have assisted. I would like to tell them in no uncertain terms that your contribution highly appreciated. But I was making the earlier point that pre-action protocol letter to Dr. Rowley, I think, is the beginning of other things to come. And I say, wait, you're going to hear probably by Monday or Tuesday another version of that. 1 and 2. I will be calling a press conference between Tuesday and Wednesday to highlight to all the media houses as to what precipitated, what was the antecedent that caused me to bring this action against Dr. Rowley. And as you know, of course, he has called me, whether directly or indirectly and through his lawyers, a liar, and that I'm lying on him, as they have said in no uncertain terms. And I want to clear my name and I have lost, of course, income because I have been suspended from the broadcasting on the corridor, on the ground report, in the immediacy of that letter from the office of the Prime Minister by Mr. Batiste, claiming that I have lied on the Prime Minister. So Dr. Rowley has his work cut out for him. He has to respond in 7 days' time, and of course I think that will be the 14th, so not too far from now. And if he does not respond, of course I will pursue taking formal action, because one of the functions of a pre-action protocol letter is to, of course, avoid litigation, meaning that if the other party agrees that they are infringed, or they have infringed the rights of another, in this case, of course, defamation, then the purpose of the pre-action protocol letter is to have the parties sit and negotiate and come to an amicable solution rather than going to court. But if that cannot be, then of course the courts will decide ultimately, and through the process of course, what will have pre-trial meetings and pre-trial actions, utilizing, of course, the facilitation of the courts and their procedure. In this case, of course, the civil procedural rules, in order to advise and to, of course, generate some kind of conclusion based on judicial consideration, based on the evidence before them. So that is where we are going. Whichever way Dr. Rowley wishes, because the ball is in his court, I am prepared, of course, to adjust, adapt, and respond appropriately. But my court documents are already ready, yes, and moving and waiting, of course. As soon as the 18th comes, I will certainly on the 19th be filing for formal action against Dr. Rowley in the courts of Trinidad and Tobago, the High Court of Trinidad and Tobago, on this particular matter. He needs to clear my name. He needs, of course, to account to the people in the process as to what transpired then, and he cannot be hiding behind the skirt tail, so to speak, of the woman's arm, who are prepared, of course, to sacrifice our children, having regard to the reality and what will I expect to unfold in the courts once this matter goes to trial. So people, we have a duty, and as I have said and promised, that I will not be taking any UNC lawyer, and that is the case now. I am head of an organization called the Litigant in Person Trinidad and Tobago. I am the head, and of course I will be pursuing this matter on my own and with my own resources, my own knowledge, and my own contemplation. I want to make that very clear. People, of course, this is a test feature, a test to make sure that we are on Facebook and on YouTube. So you can call in and let me know how the YouTube is going. I cannot see it now because we are still to engage another monitor that is in studio. We have everything here, but I thought it was important that at least over that long break, just 2 or 3 days, I'm not interacting with each other. I know that the people are extremely concerned. So you will see this, of course, I'm sure tonight, and those who would have been waiting would have seen it. And I want to tell you that, of course, the usual time is 8 to 10, but I started a bit early today to get familiar with the system and to ensure that we are well on our way to, of course, providing you with a service that we promised. And with expanded reach, we'll be able, of course, to deal with international leaders that have an impact on Trinidad and Tobago's affairs, and to let them know that the Rowley administration is not only dread, it's not only wicked, is not only diabolical, it's not only hideous, it's not only Luciferian, it's not only treacherous, it's not only dangerous, but is an existential threat to the democracy and the advancement of Trinidad and Tobago. The rule of law doesn't matter to them. They have breached and broken the law in more ways than one, and they have no moral principle. The nestling of our laws depend, and that is to say, you cannot tell me that over 500 times you have recused themselves. They have recused themselves in the cabinet and say that that is no big thing, that is not immoral, even though it may not be illegal. I mean, come on. And when, of course, you took a decision to close down Petrotrin and sacrifice specifically 65,000 persons in the southern part of Trinidad and render them inexorably and painfully to poverty and the degradation and the unraveling of families. We want, and of course, economic activities being emasculated and opportunities not available. There was a recent survey that says in the southern parts of the country that the place is a desert because there are no opportunities, and that was because of the plugging out of that area of Petrotrin. And when we looked at it, it was about Rowley's own political salvation, that the cabinet conspired, all of them, to, of course, give a reprieve to Rowley with respect to his involvement in the fake oil matter. And I cannot end any test or any program without commending the opposition for the stance that they would have taken on these several matters and their excellent performance during the course of the local government elections. Excellent performance. Let's go straight, of course, to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. This test.
Yeah, Lennox, it's me again.
Yes.
Me again. I just want to make one statement again.
Go ahead.
I don't know what time you're going up to. I just want to make a statement again.
Just about
Right,
50
a lot
minutes
of
ago.
people. Right, a lot of people I see that's be doing Facebook and they're begging the Prime Minister and other ministers to do the work. Have a heart, have compassion for the people. 8 years now, these people and them have no heart and no compassion on and all. They're begging for them to do that now. Or they have to beg them and tell them to get the hell out. That is what they need to be saying. You cannot do the job, get out, and let somebody else come in who can do the job. Because if memory could serve me well, when I listen to the elder folks talk about in the days of Eric William, Rowley and them patterning the same thing what Eric William used to do, you know. When Eric William used to catch ministers and them doing wrong thing in the ministry, instead of he get rid of them, he put them in a different ministry. That is the history that I get. So that history back then repeating itself now. So Trinidadians right now ain't realizes that history replaying itself here. Everything that we experiencing here and now happening already underneath Eric William. But you see, these people and them are supporting the PNM. The education right now as far as learning, right and wrong, up and down, left and right, it's real poor. I was telling a woman the other day that Keith Rowley did make a statement concerning the vaccine, where he said that he knew all along that the vaccine wasn't working the way it should. She turned around and telling me she never heard that on the news. I said, lady, but where you living? Where you living? She said, and the thing is, I trying to get the video because I sent a message to Andy if he could get a clipping and send it for me.
I have it. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. I have it.
I want to prove to her.
No problem.
Because she told me she went and take the vaccine.
Yeah.
I said, Miss Lady, the Prime Minister said that. And here when she turn on and she say, oh, there must be cut and paste that. I said, no, Miss Lady. I said, the man come on national television and said that. So right now, I'm trying to see if I could get that video for she to hear that she was dope in taking something that will kill her eventually. Because I even go so far and say, Miss Lady, before the vaccine roll out, 100 and something people died. After the vaccine roll out, over 4,000 people died. I say, come on, man, the numbers don't lie.
Yes,
They could with words, but the numbers.
Delusionary. They prefer and they would prefer to be in denial, even though the facts are facing them. Like, of course, when the sun gives way to night and vice versa. They see the darkness, but they say it is light. And when they see the light, they're saying it's darkness. I mean, they're just simply obnoxious. But we have those that are in the vast minority and reducing, because, I mean, they cannot sustain that level of self-denial. They cannot. I mean, a person who does that
not forever. I know that not forever, Lennox. They go realize it in due time. Some of them might die. Some of them might say
before. Yeah, some may die before. Yeah, but they will realize it. No tiger wounded and the backs against the wall wouldn't want to plunge forward. Far less for human beings. Human beings are not that loyal to evil. Not that loyal to evil against themselves. Right? Yes.
All right, Lennox, before you go again,
go ahead.
I just want to ask you this, right? When Eric William did die, right, did any prime minister from any other country came to his funeral?
Let me see. Yes. Gonzalez came. Was his funeral, right? Gonzalez came, yes, and I don't think. No, that was Manning funeral. Sorry, Yeah, that was Manning's funeral. Sorry. So again, mixed up there, but because you hit me by surprise. But I will check. I can't recall that because he wanted a private thing. Remember, he wanted a private thing, and then of course his body was burnt, and then of course dispersed over the Gulf of Paris, I believe it was.
But the thing is, right, when I listen to the elderly people talk, the senator called for the people at Trinidad and Tobago that they can come and view the body.
Yeah. Well, just as what Banning. Yeah, just as Banning. Yeah.
So when they come up now, they realize it's just a casket with a flag over it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, none of the ministers and none of the prime ministers from other country came to his funeral.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was supposed to be a private thing. That is what he had wished for. So while he was alive, so they gave him it while he's in death. Yeah.
But that's something about that still ain't making sense, because they can still come and pay tribute somehow. They didn't come, yeah. And that alone should say volumes.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it works. Yes, we'll see how it works.
All right.
Yeah. But that's an interesting perspective that caller has brought to that incident of the demise of the first prime minister of the country. But as we saw in the Republican, let's say events that we aired, Eric William is no different to Manning or this fella. It's just that this fella is double the treachery that Eric William was. Good night. Welcome to the corridor to this test that we are having tonight. Yes.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you.
I just wanted to add concerning the 3D gun parts. It was found in a house off Tudge Road in Caparo. That's where the police made the raid.
That's right. Yes, yeah, you're quite right. But he was saying he was saying that that he knew that. But in terms of an actual gun, the minister is attempting to convert that to an actual gun, when in fact, of course, that was not defined.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that was the distinction.
The other thing is that YouTube coming through real good so far.
Oh, great.
Six on the live chat so far.
Right.
6 on live chat so far.
Right,
and on
good.
Facebook, you have 111 on live chat.
Oh, my goodness. Right. Okay, that's good. People were waiting and yearning in truth, boy. and this is not the normal time. This is not the regular time. It's from 8 to 10, but I thought I should get it a little earlier just to familiarize myself. And thank you very much for that update as to what is happening on YouTube. Thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
Yes, good night to you as well. Yes. Yes, indeed. Of course. So people are monitoring and the frustrations. Let's hope that has been eliminated, or should I say, about to be eliminated on a sustained basis, so that of course we can enjoy the program. Of course, as I said, I'm not doing a full-fledged one with the videos and all of that tonight. I've limited the music, etc. But certainly as I get more familiar with the system, because a brand new system, we are using we're using OBS. There was another version that I was using earlier, but Cuff, of course, is the expert, and he has come to the rescue. And I think we are doing fairly well if we are to take it from the last caller. A person, good night. Welcome to the corridor on this test that we are doing tonight.
Yes, good night, Mr. Smith.
Good night to you as well.
I just want to let you know, both YouTube and Facebook are working very good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a preference for the YouTube stream.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing more participants in the live chat on Facebook than on YouTube.
Okay. All right. I'm sure that when they get to find out that they have the choice, there are those who would probably had preference for YouTube will go there rather than Facebook. Let's see how it works out. But they have a choice. That's the most important thing.
I personally prefer. I think I will go over to YouTube because Facebook and their community standards. You know that they suspend a lot of accounts. I have gotten suspended many times,
right,
for statements that were, somehow they were in violation of the community standards.
Okay.
So I'm saying Facebook is involved in too much censorship.
All right.
I mean, YouTube is doing the same thing.
Yes.
Especially like if you mention things like, the vax, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
All right, you have to talk in code now. So you can't come and say, well, you're not going to take the jab.
Right.
Because the jab ain't good.
Right.
They will suspend your account.
Right.
I think the same thing applies, the same rules apply on YouTube.
Okay.
But the system is up. It's working beautifully, both
Thank you.
YouTube and Facebook.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're
that
welcome.
kind of comment and that kind of review, we really appreciate. Because
okay, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. So people, of course, so this is the test that we have been waiting for. This is the platforms that we would want to stream to. Eventually, of course, we'll expand to others. But the ultimate is to get the attention of world leaders, to pay attention particularly of the G7 and G20 countries, the richest and most influential in the world, and mainly, of course, associated and members of NATO as well. Of course, an organization that is supposed to be militarily more powerful than any other alignment, association. And of course, Russia will find out sooner rather than later that it would have, of course, engaged in the weakening of a sleeping giant, even though they threaten, of course, nuclear war. But nuclear war means that it will be assured mutual destruction, and they don't want, of course, to end the country called Russia, as indeed other countries may well come to an end in the form that we know it. Life may not, of course, be extinguished from the earth, even though there is the potential, but certainly in terms of its form and in terms of how we interact and whether or not humankind would be not just drastically reduced, but those that may or may not survive, how they will, of course, evolve coming out of that experience. So man has entered the biological fray and has now evolved to the point where the very thing that has brought him to existence and has sustained him up to now, they seem bent on wanting to destroy. That is the epitome, that is the quintessential exhibition of not just disgrace, not just unappreciation, but clearly most perfidious, meaning that they are ungrateful to that which gave them sustenance. They are bent on destroying. I suspect that the Russian authorities and maybe Putin may be wishing that he could disappear at this point in time, because clearly the majority of right-thinking earthlings in the various countries of the world will not want to countenance a situation where another country go back to, of course, the 15th and 16th century, where they conquer another country, another people, and take their country as if it is theirs. That cannot happen in the 21st century world. Let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, good night again, Mr. Smith.
Yes, good night to you.
Okay, now you just made mention of Russia and nuclear war, etc.
Yes.
But I want to tell you, at least that is my opinion anyway, most of the provocation that we see taking place is because of America's so-called hegemony. And what I'm talking about is Ukraine shares a common border with Russia.
Yes.
During the era of the Soviet Union, this guy who was the president of Russia at the time, Khrushchev,
okay.
Khrushchev was a Ukrainian. You see that place called Crimea?
Uh-huh.
Crimea was its own little independent state all by itself. Khrushchev annexed. He annexed Crimea to the Ukraine.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that right now, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they had an agreement with Gorbachev, the Americans and the Russians. At that time, it was the Soviet Union.
Yes.
And once the Soviet Union fell, the Americans said to the Russians, we will not advance eastward toward Russia. But what we see has happened is that America has nuclear weapons inside of Russians' living room. They have Russia surrounded with, you could check it and you'll see. They have Russia surrounded with nuclear weapons. They also have nuclear weapons that are close to the border of China. So what I'm saying is that most of the provocation is because of the Russia, of America. And they were creating, I think it was a chemical plant, some kind of biological chemical warfare right inside of the Ukraine, which is right on the border of Russia. And if you look at every nuclear treaty that the Americans signed with the Russians, they have violated it. Every single one of them. And if you listen to what Putin has said, he knows that Russia, the economy of America is much, much greater than that of Russia. And so he cannot afford to get into an arms race because Russia doesn't have the money to spend on the kind of weapons that the Americans are spending. The biggest item in the American budget is defense. And we are in peacetime. There's not really anybody who's really threatening America. America is the ones who think that they have the right to police the world. If we look at Haiti and Cuba, imagine over 60 years of embargo against the Cubans. And America keeps Haiti destabilized. So the biggest threat to world peace, as far as I'm concerned, is America's aggression, and it's unwarranted. It's unwarranted, totally unwarranted. Well, that's all I have to say, Lennox. You might disagree with me.
It's well taken, and noted, of course. And I want to say that it is nice to expand because it has the potential to affect right here in Trinidad. So this discussion cannot be seen as far-fetched or in any way osseous or irrelevant to what is happening domestically. And I take your point, and therefore the historical antecedent in relation to the former Soviet Union, all of those former Soviet Union states, even Belarus was, even though they are aligned to Russia, but at least they are allies. But you have, of course, those others that are on the eastern side of Europe, and closer, of course, to those countries, whether it be Norway, Sweden, etc. I think that the fact that they have anchored themselves to the West has been troubling from time immemorial to the former, but I should say Russia, being, of course, the last vestige of that tremendous union called the Soviet Union. My difficulty with that argument, however, whether the Americans might have violated nuclear treaty arrangements, or whether or not the countries that were former Soviet Unions have seen it fit to anchor themselves with the West, and therefore apply for or be sympathetic to NATO, because that is, of course, is a military alliance, as opposed to, let's say, entry into the EU, because that too is a factor. They are looking at their economic survivability, and if Russia cannot provide that as a country, then, of course, as independent states, they are going to, of course, do the best for their country. And if Europe or the European Union is the place to be, as most of them are gravitating, then really and truly in contemporary times, Russia cannot use its juggernaut position, its massive armory to force a country, particularly if they are not aggressive. And that is my point, because if you listen to the commentary of the United States and its allies, it was more for defense purposes. There was never any argument there. Putin, of course, I think would have had some kind of ambition to have some semblance of the former, and in a state of nostalgia, would want, of course, to begin the process of reversing history and revising history by, of course, annexing the Ukraine, and to have ambitions for a Soviet Union that once was and could never be. I'm sure there are other factors that would be at play there, but certainly what he has done by triggering that particular invasion, because it is an invasion, is to, of course, ignite not only sympathy by these former Soviet Union entities or countries to attach themselves to NATO and Europe, but we see countries that were once neutral, like Poland and at least all of the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, and so on, they are now, of course, militarizing their borders wherever it is with that of either Russia or that of Belarus, for example, which of course is squarely in the Russian sphere of influence. So we have these complicated moving parts that no one knows where it will end, but certainly the move made by Putin, clearly I'm sure that he would now realize that it is regrettable because the economy is in tatters. There was, of course, that group in the Wagner group that wanted, of course, to move on Moscow, where is the seat of the power base of Russia, to tell Putin to get out of office. And then Putin, of course, cannot be feeling comfortable knowing that he started an exercise that was supposed to intimidate the other states that may be gravitating towards NATO. But in fact, what he has done is expedited that process, and he is more or less isolated. So he has looked, of course, to Iran. He has looked, of course, to China, and he has looked, of course, to even North Korea as what the West will consider to be pariah states, the axis of evil, and there is where we are at. So whether he could pull off this, that's why I mentioned that probably he prefers to wish that he would have expired rather than, of course, taking on this venture, hoping that within days he would have been able to overrun Ukraine, only to find out that you have this long drawn out conflict that really and truly is downgrading Russia as an emerging power, because as you know, as far as the BRICS countries are concerned, Russia was considered to be one of the emerging economies, with that of Brazil, India. Mexico is considered to be part of what is called the Mint, not yet there, but certainly Brazil, South Africa, China, Russia as part of the BRICS, and they are developing and ought to have been developing along the line of peaceful but self-interest agenda. Given the currency of the United States, for example, I think that would have been a good area to focus on and run for its money. And because they have a tremendous amount of resources, particularly in Africa and that of parts of South America, the Brazilian, for example, who is part and parcel of BRIC. You have, of course, India, who has taken a non-aligned arrangement ever since, non-participation, but certainly countries such as Iran and North Korea, are countries that at least no one would want to do business with because of the, as you rightly said, the influence of the Western world and the juggernaut position in that, and the influential position of the United States. And until you get that strong or equally strong economically rather than militarily, I am not seeing anything moving expeditiously and certainly, or should I say positively, for the Russians, unfortunately, because they seem to be in a state where they are in a Hobson's choice position. They are in a quagmire. They are in, of course, a vice, and therefore are looking for allies all over the place that they would not normally gravitate to. So Russia is in a terrible state. So while we can argue the cause and the justification thereof, whether on the Russian side or so on, the fact is that they are the aggressor, and the NATO and Western world are just responding to an aggressor, and therefore Ukraine will get the support as a buffer state to that of the Russians in the foreseeable future, and now as it unfolds. So I thought I thought it's important, of course, to bring that. People remember we are talking here on a test that we started today on YouTube, and I trust that you will get across to YouTube and see how we are looking. All have said that we are looking good, and normally we'll start at 8 o'clock, but of course I started earlier, so we may well cut off at around 8:45 local time. I know in other parts of the world it will be different, but it's important, of course, and I did, of course, share with you some issues that are developing connected to the corridor transformation per se, but of course we are yet to touch on the budget and what the statements that would have been made, but as far as Ukraine-Russian influence in this context, I think it is despicable, I think is dishonest, I think is disingenuous of the Minister of Finance and that of Rowley not to tell us that it's because of that very conflict that we had a windfall of over $8 billion for oil, gas and petrochemical exports that we exchange for foreign hard currency, that is responsible for the bogus optimism. The bogus is the operative word. Optimism of the present Minister of Finance. Dishonest, disrespectful, disingenuous, wicked and unsustainable. And in short measure, if that conflict ends tomorrow, Trinidad and Tobago is in dire straits and will not mention the fact of good fortune. And it brings me to the point where even luck, because that is luck. Luck is described, of course, as a situation where preparation meets opportunity. They call it luck. Preparation meets opportunity. So if you are prepared and the opportunity comes, then of course you can make use of it. Well, in the case of Trinidad and Tobago and that $8 billion, we couldn't even increase an extra barrel of oil in those circumstances in order to get more from what is happening between Russia and Ukraine, and the consequential reduction in gas supply to Europe in particular. The Americans are almost, if not totally, self-sufficient, but they will look all over the globe to get as much energy resources, particularly in the most and the very well abused fossil fuel domain. But they have to, of course, look at that because the world is, at least Europe, is in dire straits, and they never expected to be dependent on fossil fuel at this time. Alternative energy sources such as, of course, wind, wave, as well as, of course, even biofuel was supposed to be moving forward, and at least by 2030, with, of course, the climate change conferences that would have been initiated in France, one would have expected that the world would have been on its way because of the greenhouse effect that is created by the burning of fossil fuel and threatening, of course, mankind's existence on Earth. And, of course, climate change and other factors, including, of course, the possibility of melting ice at both poles and increasing, of course, the sea level, may cause the wiping out of islands, including Trinidad and Tobago. And that is where we are. And one would have expected that, just as how I have been able to explain that Rowley and they would have taken the time to understand, for the population to understand. But no, it is about immediate gratification by deception in order to stay in government and to, of course, pillage, rape the treasury of the country for their personal aggrandizement and avarice proclivity. And we must be conscious of that. So I'm glad that the caller elaborated to such an extent that I was able, of course, to add my own 2 pence to the overall relationship between what is happening between Russia and Ukraine and that of Trinidad and Tobago. We had a windfall of over $8 billion. And of course, the government was forced, because of that windfall, to put money into the Heritage and Civilization Fund. Yet still, they will not tell us where it came from and what were the circumstances. That is how dangerous they are, and how deceptive they are, and how dishonest they are, and how irrelevant as far as managing the affairs of the country is concerned, towards, of course, sustainable development. You heard their plans for diversification. It's as if it was deja vu and an exercise clearly in futility. But when you hear those of the opposition that inevitably must replace Rowley and they if Trinidad and Tobago is to survive in this very hostile, environmentally, I'm talking about physical, environmentally sensitive world, where our main earner of foreign exchange, 90%, is under threat, and Rowley and they are somehow in denial, or hoping that the Ukraine-Russian crisis will remain the same, so that the world will throw a blind eye, or at least the European continent will throw a blind eye and forget the question of fossil fuel burning and the greenhouse effect that will threaten mankind and their own societies, but for expeditious and for immediate gratification and survivability. The leaders in those countries that form Europe don't mind, of course, accommodating fossil fuel, but increasing the greenhouse effect, the world temperature, in other words, and going beyond, I think, the 1.5 degrees that everybody said that the world must not go beyond. Otherwise, we have dangerous storms, climate change of unprecedented nature, and of course, rising sea level and the disappearance of whole island countries and states, and of course the shores of continents and major countries that have a border with the sea. That is where we are, but none of it by this minister, none of it. That is how untruthful they are, and at the same time giving themselves credit. You have not increased a barrel of oil to take advantage. You have not increased in any way the reserves. And what we have seen is a reduction in the growth of Trinidad and Tobago economically. Yet still in those circumstances, I should say miraculously, I should say devilishly, they are giving themselves credit for some kind of growth that never existed and will not exist and was not of their own doing. And the Inter-American Development Bank and the IMF and the World Bank have no choice but to say it as it is. If you have an influx of $8 billion, then as far as they're concerned, the books are looking good. They are not the ones to explain to the population how that came about. And that was the duty of Imbert, and he never did it, giving us the impression that they did something, they made an intervention that caused that up. Yet still, they are emphasizing, of course, diversification in the area of tourism, in the area of agriculture, and in the area, of course, of what is called, I consider to be cultural heritage experiences. In other words, the so-called creative industry, soca, chutney, dance, carnival, etc., that will link to, of course, the so-called tourism product. But while all of that is taking place, we have a tremendous challenge with respect to crime and criminality. And in order for the tourism sector and the creative sector to provide any meaningful contribution to the economy, there must be an appreciation that it is human beings that drives this sector, not anything like the extractive industry, for example, oil, gas, and petrochemical. No, but it's human beings. So a person deciding to come to Trinidad to spend the US dollars must be assured that they will come to Trinidad and go back in one piece. Well, I want to tell you that is a reality that is yet to manifest itself, because the countries that are rich, whether in the North America, United Canada, or in Europe, the UK, France, Germany, etc., well, all of their governments have issued advisories against Trinidad and Tobago that their citizens mustn't come. And worse yet, if they are to invest in the non-oil sector, they must take that on board in order for them to come here. So therefore, the drying up of foreign direct investment is clear and is a reality. Let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. On this test tonight, yes.
All the callers, everybody on the line.
Yes.
I want to say a pleasant good night to you all. I want to say thank you to all the people who help us to get on the platform.
People, that is Anne-Marie speaking. People, let me tell you flat, that is Anne-Marie speaking. And of course, she is so elated that she probably normally she is not at a loss for words, but go ahead, Anne-Marie. I want to make sure that, and I want to acknowledge her contribution as well, because without her, I don't think we would have reached this stage tonight. Go ahead, Anne-Marie. Yes.
Yes, I want to thank everybody who contributed. I really want to thank all there. Mr. Smith, I'll call him Mr. Smith, right?
Yes.
I want to know all the monies that was allocated to schools and all these things, right? Why the children, the parents have to pay money to get fans and things in the school? Why the teachers have to ask parents to do these things? You know?
Yeah.
There are some people who really don't have. And I was passing through Belmont and the police station in a mess. When you look, the whole thing looking like it could fall off anytime. I mean, I'm probably exaggerating a little, but the walls are broken up. You know, they should do some fixing on these things. All the police stations, also the courts that they do all the business in. Have you ever really looked at that place?
Yeah, the Hall of Justice.
All on top the roof?
That's a mess.
Ever really look at how
it's a mess.
Them thing looking?
Yeah, it looks like a ghost house in a movie.
NIB building. That's an all in a mess, and have millions of dollars be coming through them thing. Why they not seeing about these things? Why they not doing these things? Right? My son was to carry a fan to school because it did not get no breeze. You understand? One of those years we went to the school to drop the children off and to talk to the teachers and stuff. Well, after the essays, right?
Mm-hmm.
But while we were registering for them, and they had to talk to the teachers and stuff. And the chairs and thing was ridiculous. So I hope when they allocate all these monies that they say they're doing for this and that the other, that they fix these things. Mm-hmm. Because it's a damn shame to see how the place looking, and we have money. We have money. And I feel we need to step up and really talk and see what we have to say and people will listen. If they don't want to listen, they will hear somehow, you know. Right? Because we're watching how we have a lot of young children, and I've been saying it right through. We can study piano and children because at the end of the day, we will be the ones all in town, in our homes, and they will come and they will bother us. Right? With this old lady or this lady, I'm not sure she was a very old lady or so, but they beat up the lady, poor lady drag she all over to take the little money that she probably was saving to buy a house or some kind of thing she was doing with her money. That's her money.
Yeah.
Right? Why we have to go through all these things? They're coming in your house, beating up granny and grandpa and whoever and tie them up, raping people. Why? Rowley and them talking, shipping us about they doing this and what the hell what they doing? Crime on some percentage low, unemployment or employment right? How people not getting jobs. They're not giving them any jobs, right? And they're not finding the people who can create the jobs, give them the contracts. That'll be no big sum of money, but at least they will have contracts where they probably could clean the funeral, sorry, I don't know what to say.
The what?
But they clean up the place, not paint and things, them government places.
Yeah, that seemed to be, yeah.
I had so much to say, but I just losing words right now.
Yeah, right.
So,
okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. It happens.
I wanted to ask, please, if anybody can help us with a wheelchair. Mr. Freeport is in need of a wheelchair. We're trying to see if we can help him with some stuff to build his house, building materials, and if anybody could help with hampers, these kind of stuff.
Yes.
Right? We have about three of them that really need help. So if you all can help us, please, we'll really appreciate it. Right? They are part of us. They come to all our meetings. They go have, they really, really do a lot. So please, if all can help, just help, please. Thank you. Enjoy night.
Yes, indeed, my friend. Yes, indeed. Well, of course, there she goes again. But she's the one that is the humanitarian, let me say, monitor. And I want to say, it would have been remiss of me if I close tonight's exercise without mentioning Mr. Freeport, we call him. I think last weekend, not this one, the one before, his house was totally gutted, burnt down to the ground. He escaped with the clothes on his back, and others maybe were less fortunate, I to tell you. But the fact is, he doesn't have a home to live in now. He lives, I think there was a garage that was scorched, but it was still livable, so he stays there, but very inhospitable. And some time ago, he had an amputation, I think it's his left leg, up to the knee, and we were instrumental, and we delivered, of course, a wheelchair to him. Well, he has lost that wheelchair as well in the fire, and so he is in really a terrible state. So that is where Anne-Marie comes in, of course, to assist in that regard. So that is what she was talking about. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you.
Good night to everybody on the live.
Yes,
Lennox,
indeed. Hey.
I get banned for hours since I joined that YouTube thing, eh? Like whoever feedback can have from that, they get feedback on this Facebook. So
okay.
And I got to hardly comment now. So here what's going on. I had sent you a link with two man talking. I don't know who the people are because I don't really watch them program, right?
Okay.
They're talking about somebody, so people. They talk about people in Belmont and certain areas.
Okay.
And I want to believe that is the PNM diehard areas.
Okay.
I hear these people are getting 2 hampers per month from the PNM. Is that true, Lennox?
I don't know, but I will not be surprised because the PNM operates that way. They give those who can be of use to them and keep others in bondage, whilst, of course, they feed those minusculely, comparatively speaking, but their job is to keep people in back.
Lennox say what's going on that, but I hear the man also say that nobody ain't walking no way in them areas and they living out of hampers.
Yeah.
So bust for the money paying them supporting, and they had to pay no bills. They had to pay no water bill, no. I don't know if it's like bill.
But
they
it's,
say,
it's
and
quite
the property
possible.
tax for people like who will be living on the ground now. I have to say on the ground.
No,
on the ground.
It's quite possible. You wouldn't believe that there is URP that is supposed to be there. We can't see them. So it's a set of ghosts that they have created, and these people are supposed to go out there and preach the gospel of the PNM and to try to generate a propaganda and illusion that somehow everything is honky-dory, and that is what they do for maybe a $500 a fortnight, you know. That's what they do. So I'm not surprised.
Hampers, right? And then you telling me one of the hampers only have a little 5 pound of flour and a little bottle of oil. Well, when I throw a little bottle of oil, I might put a fry piece of chicken, the oil is done. So them going and drink them, they like them where I live.
Yeah.
And to go there and look for work and to vote our government who could give them jobs, why?
Yeah, they have.
Then they put on a hamper for the month to live, why?
They have been told that and they have adapted to that. I can tell you, you know, I know about that. I know about.
Well, Lennox, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Lennox, I never know about these things, boy, but I shocked Lennox. That's why I find these people that only put them back PNM in these areas.
Yes, that's the level of dependency. They have little ambition and the expectations are very minuscule, and the PNM knows that, and they feed them with that and making them believe, unfortunately, that that's the best thing that they could be or they could get, and in exchange for that they are a vote bank. They then go and vote for the PNM. That's how dangerous this party is. Yes.
Okay now.
Yes, indeed. So very good point, observation, and those are some of the things that we will be talking about, of course, and it links back, of course, to the despicable behavior and the deception that is the PNM, and connected to that budget statement that was made. I think, as I said, it was an exercise in deception, an exercise in conmanship, an exercise in further destruction of the psyche and the will of the people to produce, and certainly where the productive side of things are concerned, the government will wish that it could have maintained and provide all the jobs as was the case in Tobago, but even Tobago realized that that was unsustainable, and as a consequence they jettisoned or they made speedy exit of the PNM by doing what? By not voting for them. And therefore the situation there is 14-1. Let's go straight to the line, and I'll take this call as the final one. I think the test is now over, almost over at least. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, Lennox, I just calling here to remind you, don't forget to send the video from me where we only make the statement about the vaccine, right?
All right, I certainly will. Point info man, yeah. I have you down as point info man, so I know use your information man in point. All right, try friend.
All right.
Yes.
All right then.
Yeah, I see. I'll do it as soon as I finish here. All right then, so people, I think we should go to the familiar song. You will not see it on video, but certainly you can hear it. And this is how it goes. So yes, indeed, people, of course, we have come to the end of the test for tonight. I see Miss Santa Cruz, our external contributor, is attempting to get in. If you can get in before the music is complete, I certainly will, of course, pause, and because I'm sure that you have been not only missing, but we, in reciprocity, we have missed you as well. And so, of course, it will be appreciative if you, of course, make an input tonight, which is a test, of course. Tomorrow night we start at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, but we started just after, I think, 7 o'clock tonight. If not before, I think it's 6:45, thereabout. So I think we have had, I want to thank Kof, of course, for his intervention. I want to thank you for, of course, your loyalty and commitment and your stick-to-itiveness and patience. I want to thank, of course, those persons who have made it possible. And even if when we said, and it was elusive, it was not possible, we didn't have the resource, but we were able, of course, to muster, and we were able, of course, to influence, and we were able to convince. And as a consequence, tonight we have a full-fledged program, testing as it has been, to, of course, make certain that our launch into YouTube and elsewhere, because we are going to go on to the other platforms, specifically to engage international leaders as to what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, and what is the Rowley administration, a wicked, devilish, evil, diabolical, as well as one that is reckless as far as the rule of law is concerned, separation of powers, the undermining of the electoral process, and the fact that they are prepared to continue. They are like dogs sucking egg. They will not stop. And therefore, since that is idiosyncratic of them, that is a natural part of their political DNA, we as a conscientious citizenry and as a people must say, no, this is a democracy. There she is. I'm going to, of course, pause and have her make a contribution. A pleasant good night to you, Miss Santa Cruz. Let me just pause here. Yes.
Yes.
Pleasant good night to you.
Lennox, and I'm happy to everybody on the chat. Lennox, I'm also having problems staying on the live with you tonight.
Okay.
Because we still have a lot of problems and whatever, you know. So
okay. All right. On your side, right.
But first, it's still getting a lot of trouble, but I'm still here.
Okay.
Still trying to listen.
Right.
First, I want to thank you all for all those birthday greetings. And the song that somebody sang for me as well. Because the next day I played
we did that
the show.
On the Wrong Report, yes.
Because late night, as you said, I was happy. Sons, my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter.
Okay.
So, it was such a nice, cozy affair, and we came a little bit late, and already finished, but I played it the next day and I heard you singing the special rendition of Happy Birthday to Me.
Yes.
You know, it was much appreciated. Yes, Lennox. But Lennox,
Yeah.
And I heard the first part of the program because I wanted to know what was this reaction protocol all about.
Yes.
Because I heard the fool on the ground report talking about Rowley Tetsuya, not knowing it's the other way around.
Yes, the other way around.
Yes.
Yes.
You're right.
That's how they denial.
Somebody put Rowley in his phone.
Yes.
And and what we also want to say tonight is that I was so proud for Tessa and her contribution to the budget debate.
Excellent.
All who want to talk, she was excellent, Lennox.
Yes.
And she was on point and exactly what Stefan said. For the last top, she have been on par.
Yeah.
Friday, she proved herself again. She proved herself again that she exposed the lies of IMBAT and the PNM. And I must congratulate her for that. And all the naysayers who want to say she was drunk, was lucid, and was mumbling and fumbling. Maybe all you had something in all your ear that was not supposed to be there.
Yes.
They didn't hear what you were saying. What else you can say, Lennox?
Of course.
What else you can say?
Yeah. And what else they could say? What else they could say? Because I mean, they are opposing for opposing's sake. So what else they could say?
Opposing, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Because Lennox, I mean, look at the state of the country. Murder by the minute or the second, however you want to put it.
Yes.
There's no letting up. It's a bloodshed. It's mayhem. And this is what all they do to Mrs. Prasad Sessa. This is what all they doing. All they not seeing that. Come to all they want to come and talk about a for opposition. No, it's not piss poor. Because them laugh in all their faces. It's gas 3 times and they haven't rioted yet. All they're waiting for the opposition to riot. When riots taking place all over Sri Lanka and all about, were they waiting for the opposition to do it? No. Just goes to show you the only heavy lifting all you want to do is to lift all your spoon to all your mouth. Nothing else. The opposition have facing groceries and things just like the rest of us. And we cannot take a stand and come out here when a protest is called. Shut your mouth. Take it. Don't blame the opposition. Because we have to be blamed. Well, not me, Lennox, right? Because I'm always out there,
yes.
Right? But we are to be blamed. Let it Imbert get away with what it is he's getting away with.
Yes.
We have to be blamed.
Of course. Ultimately.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Because when he laughed at us, he laughed in our faces that we're riot yet. Something should have been done. Look at now. Pension, they've been mentioning NIS pension going into 65, which means social welfare will go to 70. But the opposition piss poor. Oh, you're the piss poor one for not standing up. You know who I used to admire? That man they call Samad. You remember he was a one-man protest team?
Yes.
When he went up to call the half place with the hammer, they call him with the hammer.
Yes.
They call him right to break down the gate. Right? The man couldn't do it. All you only waited on the opposition? No, if all you were serious about things in this country, don't wait on the opposition. Go out there. Get together 2 or 3 people or more and go out there and protest. But when we have a protest, so the ground report called for a protest, everybody afraid. When Victor Roberts called for one, everybody afraid. They don't want to see them, they don't want to see them. Well, only sit down there and take it. Sit down there and take it. Smile now. Right? They're on time, the camera, let them smile. All what Rowley and them doing to them, Lennox.
Sarcasm will get you everywhere.
Yeah. Lennox, I'm glad to see that you're back on.
Yes.
I hope that this is more successful and we don't have the problem that we were experiencing before.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So take care, everybody, and have a good night.
And I want to tell you that Cuff is on board. They see who set up the whole thing. Yeah. So he spoke earlier. Tonight.
Okay,
yes.
Cuff, good night.
yes. So
I missed it because remember I told you because I keep getting coming in and out because of the way it's cutting up now.
Yeah.
But I'm still listening.
Yeah, so we are on
so
both.
Take care, Lennox,
and we are on
have a
both.
good night.
And as you know, we are on both, of course, Facebook and YouTube.
But I'm calling you. I'm looking at YouTube because I'm getting better reception.
All right, good, great. All right. Yeah, so things are working. Thanks to you as well. Yes, and your contribution. Yes, and well, of course, that was our external contributor. You know, if she says she wants to come in, well, there's nothing I could do about that because that gives her the authority and the privilege and the power to, of course, demand her 2 pence, so to speak. And therefore, when you have volunteers such magnificent individuals, you have no choice but to, of course, accommodate. So I have accommodated, but as I said, we are on the end of the exercise. Of course, this is the corridor transformation. I will not put the theme song together in terms of our ending or beginning. We're trying to improve on that. We're looking to get the graphics change, etc. So we are going to give a new look, a new dimension, and of course we'll have an advertising elements to it as well, so that in future we don't have to burden people with, of course, asking for assistance that will be critical or too much. If you have to give, of course, if we have a source of incomes to adjust and to maintain the system, pay for internet, etc., it means that it will be less burdensome for those who are prepared to make a monthly or weekly, as the case as you can afford, contribution. But at the same time, will not sacrifice the program. That being as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And it was wonderful, of course, being part and parcel of this test. Kof will be with me until, of course, I learned every single aspect of it, so I could be on my own. I'm much like, of course, infant, a baby, and he, of course, being, I wouldn't say a mother, but certainly a granddad, attempting, of course, to show me in quick time what has to be done in order to keep the consistency as far as every night, or except on Friday, going. But tonight was a special night. Tomorrow we may start a little earlier as well, just to make sure that I'm familiar with the system. And then, of course, we launch right into 8 o'clock, and we may cut off a little earlier because of the earlier start, just to make certain that Kof is not sleeping and that it is convenient for him, because he's the man at the hem of everything as far as this improvement that we are searching and looking for and have accomplished so far. Not in totality, but certainly we are getting there. That being as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And of course, our signature closing song on a Sunday, always recognizing the presence of the Almighty. I think tonight ought not to be anything different, having regard to where we have come from. It's 2 days, we have not been in communication. Bye-bye.